So what is going on, everybody? Noza with another video. So I'm sure by the title you understand that you're trying to open up people who play super lane. But before we get into that, I would like to let you know where this all started. So we went on SF6 Reddit to see what people are struggling with, and this is namely where I get a lot of my video ideas from. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments down below, and I might make a video on it. With that being said, so this person says, how do I deal with an unengaging players, right? I need help playing as Zangief, high gold, low platinum. 80% of my matches is me playing catch up with my opponent. Now I could go into this, but this is not the focus of what I really want to go into. So I really want to go over how to deal with opponents who do a lot of turn. Okay, so let's get back into the game. So a lot of your opponents, especially when it comes to like say a DJ or a Guile, they'll sit back a lot and they'll just throw a bunch of booms at you. You know what I mean? They'll just like, well, if I can hit my booms, you know what I mean? They'll just throw a bunch of booms at you. You know what I mean? And just kind of play that really slow game, and then you kind of have to operate around it, right? So the first thing that you want to do is that you want to observe their habits. So what does this mean? Does this look like, say, they'll go for boom, boom, stop, and then just wait? Do they do boom, drive rush? Do they do every time they do Sonic Blade into boom, right? What are they doing on a consistent basis? If they're just like sitting here, this is something that you need to keep in account as well, because some of your opponents, right, they'll just crouch block, and the moment you get close to them, they'll press like a button like a crouching medium punch, and they'll kind of just drive rush off of it and get their party started from there, right? So how do we bait something like this out? What we have to start doing is the fact that we have to start understanding our character first and foremost, and what options we have available to us to blow up said options. So let's say we're playing Jake, right? One of the options that we can exhibit in this case is using our far-reaching overhead, right? By using our far-reaching overhead, right, is either A, they block it, right, in which they lose their charge, which, as if you don't know, Guile players have to hold down for a set amount of time before they can get their flash kick, right? So if you clicked on this video, I'm sure you need some help. Lord knows I did at some point. But here's the thing, you want your favorite content creators to come and help you, but let's be real, they're charging like $60 per hour. You don't need that. But when I got you good. Over on this channel, I do free coaching sessions on Tuesdays and on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. EST. So what does that look like? I essentially go over your matches. I give you tools so that you can succeed the next time you open up rank. So once again, join my Discord. Wait till I'm live either on Tuesdays or on Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. EST. Be there or be square. And yeah, I'm not your favorite pro, but I'm available. Those pros are not available. So once again, join the live, get better, and I'll help you improve. Back to the video. So we can either A, force them to guard upwards, neutral guard, which they lose their charge, and then we can get something started, or they get hit outright. And if in the case that they get hit outright, you know what I mean, you're +1 on the situation, which means you get allotted a crouch jab in afterwards, right? So these are the type of things that you want to notice, right? Another thing that your opponent might do, like I mentioned before, is that they might just start pressing this the moment they get close to you, right? So what you can start doing is, right, the moment your opponent starts pressing this, right, we walk into the range and then of the crouching medium punch, and then we walk immediately out of it and try to whiff punish it. And the beauty in this is that if you're correct on this situation, then you get a whiff punish into a combo, and either you get a drink or you get started that way, right? You want to try and open up your opponent using your options. Some characters have really fast drive rushes, so you might want to do something like this, right? Drive rush, crouch jab, right? And the moment you do so, it forces them to have to think, and they are put into a situation where they either have to guess on EXDP or get thrown or get shimmied or whatever have you, whatever you want to do. But at that point, that's when you start seeing cracks in their gameplay, right? So once we open them up, right, it doesn't have to result in big damage or whatever have you, but the goal is to open your opponent up. The mentality behind opening your opponent up is that once they realize that they can't do what they currently we're doing, they'll start to have to rely on different things. Now, depending on your opponent, if we're dealing with like the metal ranks, a lot of them will start to fold because they didn't develop other parts of their game plan. It's unlikely masters are watching this video because they're probably like hockey and feel like they already got it all together. But you have to keep in mind that once they start showing their cracks, you want to start taking advantage of it. So some of the cracks that you'll start to see, right? Let's say we start blowing them up, right? Is that they'll start like trying to force their way in. So they'll force their way in by trying to press different buttons. Like for instance, they'll start, instead of going for crouching medium punch that will give them the drive rush, they'll start switching to standing crouching medium kick, right? In the case, we still can get that punish if we space out our buttons and look for opportunities to whiff punish, right? And they will also start doing raw drive rush, right? Raw drive rush is something that they'll also start to do, in which we want to start trying to check those drive rushes, right? In those cases that we are successful, right, we get a stock, right? And we want to essentially force them into situations that they have not been doing thus before. And you know, once they're uncomfortable, they start jumping a lot, they start trying to drive rush a lot, and some of them get overly dependent on booms. So let's say he starts throwing a bunch of booms, right? Let's say he starts throwing a bunch of booms, right? And he gets really uncomfortable. If we know that he's going to do it, we can start taking advantage of it by using our dive kick characters. This is for you, right? And if you have access to, oh, I realize I don't have thing on me. If you know it's gonna happen, we can take advantage of it with Beyblade, or if you have any other special moves that go past it as well, you want to start using that as well, right? So essentially, to wrap everything up, what I want you guys to start doing is to analyze your character, right? What does your character have that will force your opponent to have to do something, right? So we can use Luke, for example. With Luke, you yourself can play pretty slow, wait for him to do something and then react to it. So for instance, we can play the fireball game. His sandblast is really strong. I've shown Jamie's options. For Manon, she can use her overhead to beat out charge. She can also force you into 50-50 anytime that she makes you block something into drive rush cancel. When it comes to Kim, like I mentioned, you can do the drive rush crouch jab. When it comes to Marissa, you're gonna have to play a little bit slow. You might want to try and play for armor, where you can gladius past the armor, and then you'll play kind of a little bit forcing them to deplete their drive gauge, right, by hitting them with a bunch of like buttons that do a lot of drive gauge damage, because that's one of the things that you're really good for. Lily, for the most part, the person can't play very stand still, right? He can't do that. So what you have, because at any point if you try to throw a fireball against this character, she's just going to EX at you and you're cooked. When it comes to JP is one of those lame characters, so he can kind of play the back and forth. When it comes to Jury, you can do the crouch jab game and so on and so forth, right? Cammy, I showed the dive kick. You also have you could also play for the depletion of drive gauge. When it comes to Ryu, you can play for dungeon charge. From there, you can get active with your offense with your standing heavy punch. You can't really do drive rush too well. His drive rush is okay, but it's not the greatest. Honda, we don't talk about Honda. Can't when it comes to Chun, Chen has a really good fireball drive rush game, so you can depend on that for dealing with things. Unless they go for an EX fireball, which you kind of have to contend with, but they can't always do EX fireball, so that's something that you want to keep in mind. When it comes to Ken, you just need to get active, get in their space, standing heavy punch, crouching medium kick, drive rush, crouch jab, get started, and then kind of make them feel uncomfortable from there, right? And you want to make sure that you're doing standing heavy punch or crouching medium kick into crouch jab, because that is a true string, which means they cannot just go for EX EXDP immediately afterwards, guys. When it comes to Blanca, honestly, you gotta pick a minute, let's be honest. When it comes to Zangief, which is the person that we were talking about, unfortunately, when it comes to Zangief, that's why this matchup is particularly difficult for him, where you're going to have to walk it out, right? So your goal here is to force your opponent by using your buttons. Your goal is to force your opponent into making a mistake, right? Or force them towards the corner so that they're here, and then you can get your party started however you want to do. And for some reason I can't think. Okay, there you go. Apparently I can't SPD anymore. So that's kind of how you want to go about that matchup, right? When it comes to Sim is one of those lame characters you can kind of go back and forth, but in the case that you do have to get active, you can definitely use your EX Fireball to make up this space. Rashid is Rashid, bro. Let's be honest, bro. That man's flying in and out of spaces. It's hard to control him, so he can get in and get started fairly easy. Aki, you're gonna have to use Fireball, Drive Rush, and Ed kind of wants to play that Ed lane game as well. Obviously, once he gets in, he gets started, but he can play that lane game just as well as the other characters. So you kind of want to depend on that a little bit more. So I hope that little generic going over each character and what options you have available to you, hope that helps you go get a little bit better when dealing with lane characters. So once again, you want to try and beat out their options, right? Try to goad them into making mistakes, and then once they make mistakes, that's when we want to go ahead and punish them, and then that's when we can get started. Whenever I can SBD, I'll be good. Anyways, guys, if you want more guides, you can check out my playlist that's right over there. Bunch of guides. I also have a whole bunch of coaching sessions. I have most likely have it for your character, and I have a bunch of sessions over there. So enjoy and have a good one, y'all. Peace.